This
Meeting?
conference
Okay.
will now be recorded.
Being 7 p.m., we will bring the February 8th, 2023 Budget Committee meeting to order. And we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we are looking at an article that needs to be corrected
Right,
by
so,
the DRA request. And I'll just read them both. What we had was Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to the Tilton Island Preservation and Improvement Capital Reserve Fund previously established. And this article is recommended by the Selectmen and the Budget Committee. What is required by DRA goes as follows: to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to the Tilton Island Preservation and Improvements Capital Reserve Fund previously established, and with the purpose which includes municipal infrastructure and related improvements pertaining to the island and bridge. Further, to name the selectmen as agents to expend from said fund. This article is recommended by the selectmen and is or not recommended by the Budget Committee. We'll vote on that now. Any motion?
No, but I have something to say.
Okay, well, let's start with a motion and then we'll
Then we can
discuss it
discuss.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 13 as amended,
as required by the DRA.
as required by
Is there a second?
DRA.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
So when this was created, its intent was to repair the island from the flood damage and whatnot. And it was purposely left no agent because when the selectmen went to town meeting that year, we told the legislative body that when we had a plan, that the selectmen would come back to them and say, this is the plan to fix the island, and ask to expend those monies. This completely changes the purpose. And all those people that have been putting money into this fund, I mean, municipal infrastructure, that's like anything, including a snowplow. And now the selectmen are agents, so now they're not going to go back to the legislative body and say, hey, we have a plan to fix the island. DES was very specific that day that we had to have an engineered plan to place our granite blocks back, and they wanted us to build those cages and whatnot. It was going to be very expensive. And the idea was that Tilton would put money aside and so would Northfield. Well, Northfield never did, but Tilton did. And the promise was the Board of Selectmen would go back and present a plan. Now the selectmen want to include other things. It disenfranchises, again, I'm repeating myself, but it disenfranchises all the years from this year past, people that have put money in that, expecting that money to be spent on repairing that island. So it doesn't erode.
Tim, would you like to
Well-
respond to that?
well, I just wanted to say that the selectmen were made agents when it was originally established to expend from the fund back in 2012. And so in 2021, there was a warrant article to change the purpose of the fund for what's said here. It's just that while the town followed the template to the T of what DRA said and how to form the warrant article to change the purpose of the fund, because there was no money appropriated last year for it. They said that it wasn't clear enough and that we needed to put the purpose in. The name was changed last year as well as the purpose. So anyway, that was, the town's attorney felt as though there was no need to reestablish the selectmen as agents because they had already been made agents for the fund. And the reason why the warrant article last year was to make changes to the fund is that the original warrant article in 2012 was specific to a particular report that was done and that, was talked about sharing between Tilton and Northfield, which Catherine's right about that. So, in any case, what this is intended to do is not to prohibit any money being spent from fixing, the areas of the island. It's meant to make it broad enough so that whatever is required for the enjoyment of the island, be it some sort of infrastructure there or blocks or anything else it could be used for.
Can you tell me exactly what the wording was last year? The name
Yeah, I
and the
can-
purpose,
I can pull it up.
because that would have been on the warrant, right? To
It was
change
on the
it?
warrant.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to see how it's different than this, if it is. I might have a different person this year.
We did.
I just want to see what the wording is, how this reads, if that was approved last year. You have last year's town report?
I have 22 warrant on my desk at home, but
It doesn't do us any good here. I do that kind of spread out. I didn't do it.
Here it is. So the wording was to see if the town will vote to change the purpose of the existing Tilton Northfield Island Capital Reserve Fund to the Tilton Island Preservation and Improvements Capital Reserve Fund. This article is recommended, so on and so forth. And then moderator read, would you like me to read it's short minutes, but I can read the minutes if you
Usually
like.
when you create a capital reserve fund, you have a purpose somewhere as well.
So the original capital reserve fund that created it was in 2012. And that stated certain things in there. This format of this warrant article from last year was exactly what DRA said to use for changing the purpose, where no money was being appropriated. They have a template, a list of templates, and that was their,
So
that
it
was the
didn't say
extent of.
anything about municipal infrastructure and related improvements.
No, which is why, we felt it was important to, to make sure it's clear. It's absolutely clear.
We are changing it from what we had.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me on the agent part, but I do remember the conversation at town meeting was pretty in-depth about, yeah, we'll let you know, but I still don't think it should include municipal infrastructure. The money was meant to be spent on the island.
But if you look at the wording, Catherine, it says municipal infrastructure and related improvements pertaining to the island. So that would mean the
Including.
electrical, that would mean that's, so you've got the infrastructure just
The
in
island
terms
and
of contained
bridge.
on the island. And
That's not what it says.
so,
Purpose, which includes municipal infrastructure and related improvements. It doesn't say such as related
Pertaining.
improvements.
pertaining,
Yeah.
Bridge.
but pertaining is the key word because it refers back to the infrastructure and the improvements that pertain to the island.
So it's not all municipal infrastructure. It's only as it relates to the island and the bridge.
Pertaining.
Not what
to-
it says.
Yeah. I think that's should be clear.
The municipal infrastructure and, doesn't say municipal
And related
infrastructure such as.
improvements, but they're pertaining to the island and bridge. So it's fairly specific here that it's all those many different infrastructure things that pertain to the bridge and the island is what it's for, from what I see.
It says, establish with the purpose, which includes municipal infrastructure and
Right.
related improvements pertaining to the island and the bridge.
I see what she's saying, because
Yeah, I see you.
it's like, it says municipal infrastructure, and if it said municipal infrastructure, comma, related improvements pertaining to the island and bridge only or something. So she's saying that you could, if you take the and out, if you put a period after
No,
infrastructure,
just take out municipal infrastructure.
so it could just include all related
I mean,
improvements.
the one that was there last year had the wording that allowed that money to be spent on the island. And if you
Yeah.
wanted it to be spent on the bridge, then you could just ask for the bridge. But I'm sorry, this says municipal infrastructure and related improvements pertaining to the island and the bridge. I mean, why repeat island again?
We've,
Go ahead.
we, is it on?
Yes.
Okay. We did follow what DRA told us last year, and I can show you the document, the template that we followed. And it did not ask us to make any additional information about the purpose. This time around, they directed us to do that. They looked at this language. The attorney looked at this language. I can't imagine that DRA would, because the purpose and the name of this is for the island, that municipal infrastructure would relate to anything else but the island.
But it does, that's what it says.
Well,
The Department of Revenue Administration is going to give you the language for what you want the warrant article to accomplish. That's what they do. I dealt with them for 19 years. That's what they do. They give you the language you need for your warrant article that you want to accomplish. That's what they do.
They don't have a horse in the race. They don't.
So,
But I'd have to disagree that it pertains to anything other than the island and bridge, because it says with the purpose which includes, and the items that it includes are pertaining to the island
Right,
and bridge.
because that, anything that we do on that island is a municipal infrastructure work. And so that is what we're doing, but it pertains to the island and the bridge,
Right.
from what I can see.
That would include the stones, that could include electricity, that
Right.
could include.
That's all municipal infrastructure, because
Snowplow.
we own the island now,
No
right?
snowplow.
of course it does. That's municipal infrastructure.
But it has
It's
to,
not
it has to
exclusive
pertain
to the island.
to the island
It
and
is,
bridge.
it is
says
exclusive.
and pertaining, including.
No, and
And says including.
If you removed and related improvements, then it only is to the municipal infrastructure pertaining to the island, bridge and
That's not what it
bridge.
says.
But you take by the structure of the sentence, municipal infrastructure and related improvements. So if you removed and related improvements and it read includes municipal infrastructure pertaining to the island and bridge, or if you removed municipal infrastructure, you would say which includes related improvements pertaining to the bridge. So both infrastructure and improvements are talking about and pertaining is the key word in that sentence,
Right.
to the island and bridge.
Listen,
That's-
I understand I'm sitting on an island all by myself. This isn't the place to have this disagreement
right,
anyway.
sure.
Town meeting is
Yeah.
where this will come up. So
Okay, so
this is a vote whether we're
What
going
if,
to
Right.
approve.
what if you switch some words
disapprove.
around and said, which includes municipal infrastructure to the island and bridge and related improvements?
we can't switch with words.
Yeah,
This
the
is
words-
what, this
they
is
would
what
have to go back to
DRA
the Board of
said we have
Selectmen
to
for that.
use.
You can, as long as the information is still there, they don't care if you move a couple words around.
That would be town meeting. We can't change
Town
this
meeting, you
here.
can't change a warrant article wording at town meeting.
Of course you can.
Sure you can.
You can't change the intent.
Right.
You can change the amounts.
This is the time to
You could
change it
change the
because
purpose.
we haven't presented it to the voters yet. All you'd have to do is go back to DRA and say, we want to change
But
these
it has to
two
go back
words.
to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
And
well,
we're kind of running up
Kinda
against
running
our
out of time.
town meeting,
I'm just
our
saying,
town
I see
report
what you're saying
deadline.
and I see what you're saying. It's
So,
a
and like
matter
I
of
said,
how you interpret it.
Right.
the time to have this in-depth
As far as
conversation is at
I'm
town
concerned,
meeting.
everything that's said pertains to the island and bridge.
But
That's
the
how I
and
see
does,
it.
the and can be,
But that's before pertaining. So that's
Uh-huh.
all of that clump goes pertaining to the island and the bridge. That's how I
depends
see
on how
it.
you interpret it.
Yeah.
I can see both of where you're both saying.
Sure.
I was hoping we could find a way to clarify.
So, will we have any more discussion?
No, I see what we're trying to do. Yeah, it's good that we're including the
Yeah,
bridge. We need to include the bridge. But
So all those in favor of recommending the required by DRA Article 13, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Please let the record show, I said no.
you can stand up and talk at town meeting about it.
Great. Okay, so it does pass.
Have time to do some research.
Thank you.
And you also have the MS 737
Yes.
We
for
decided we're not
approval.
signing it.
We've got 2 of these signed by who were present.
We need Judy to sign it. She's here.
She
now.
signed them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Okay, right on top of it.
All
There's
right,
a
so
form on
I'll,
there, right?
I'll let Lisa know to alert Christine that she can come in and sign it.
Okay, great.
if she
Yeah.
likes. So,
Yeah.
great. That's all I have.
I mean, the only other thing is people were thinking we might want to meet earlier. How does, like at 6 on Wednesdays? Would that be, is that
I get
an
out at
issue?
3, so whenever.
What's that?
I get out at 3, so whenever.
I'm fine with 6. It's not.
I mean,
Which, next, when is
next
it?
year.
Next
Next
year?
year. Next year.
Yeah.
That's wishful thinking, isn't it?
This fall?
I don't know if we have any
This
more
fall,
meetings this year.
Is it?
I mean,
So
I'm sorry.
when do we start up? Like September, October?
Yes, yeah. When we,
So in 6 months.
You
Yeah.
should know your schedule now.
Well, that's not necessarily the case when it comes to Wednesday evenings for me, so. But yeah, 6 o'clock should not be too much of an issue, so.
okay,
God, I'm gonna be
And
late
Scott
for
may not
Great.
even be the,
I may not be the
Budget
ex
committee rep
officio.
next time.
Yeah.
right.
I can have, if,
So,
depends on who gets
we
elected.
just want to see if Christine Demitsky and would be okay with that too. So we could maybe have Lisa.
Yeah, she'll get the recording so that she
Yeah.
can scribe the
Is she
minutes
okay
and all
with
that.
6? Lisa?
Yeah, well,
No?
we should check with her too. So
Good, okay.
basically, we're putting this out
So
as
this is an
a
inquiry.
possibility of
Starting
meeting at
early.
6 next year.
that means we can get more done and stay the same length of time. Right? We can stay as late and start out an hour earlier and get more done in a meeting. Have
Sure.
less meetings.
I like that.
Okay, great. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.